Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be. My name is Sean and I'm delighted you join us for today's ESPC Community Webinar. Today I'm joined by Rick Van Roselt, MVP, who will cover developing declarative agents for M365 Copilot. We love hearing what you guys have to say, so remember to join in on the conversation about today's webinar. Our handle is @ESPC_community and our hashtag is #ESPC25. Tweet us, tag us, and tell us what you learned. Don't forget to check out our Learning Hub, which is updated the latest blogs, ebooks, webinars, and how-to videos. You can access and view the Learning Hub by visiting our website, sharepointeurope.com, and clicking the Content tab at the top. Don't let the learning stop here. Continue to keep up and stay ahead by joining us for our next webinar, Real-World M365 Copilot Experiences from 400+ organizations with Emma Klein. This webinar will take place Friday, 11th of April at 3 p.m. CEST. For more information on this webinar, please check out www.sharepointeurope.com/register for webinars. Take your Power Platform expertise to new heights at EPPC 25. Join a full-day workshop and master everything from Power Automate to AI agents and Microsoft Copilot. You'll learn from top industry professionals and connect with peers who share your passion for innovation. Use code Copilot Week to save €150, but hurry, the offer is only valid until April 30th. Scan the QR code to find out more. At FabCon Europe, you can learn about Power BI, Synapse, Data Factory, Azure, Microsoft Fabric, and more. Book your super early bird tickets today and save up to €700. Book now at www.sharepointeurope.com/European Microsoft Fabric Community Conference tickets. Attend Europe's premier Microsoft 365 and AI conference for incredible insights and real-world inspiration. Book today and take advantage of our super early bird sale. Use the code Copilot Week to save €150 on your ticket. This offer will be valid until April 30th. Scan the QR code to find out more and secure your place. As always, if you have any questions at any stage, feel free to type them in the questions box and Rick will get to them during the webinar. This webinar will be recorded and added to the Resource Center, but you'll be notified by email when it is available. And now I'm going to pass you over to today's webinar presenter, Rick. Hello, Rick. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, everyone. I hope you'll go to EPPC because I'll be there as well. There we go. Well, so let's get started. I hope everybody's having a happy Friday already today. So we'll be discussing developing declarative agents for M365 Copilot. Now, what are agents? Well, agents are scoped versions of the Microsoft 365 Copilot that act as AI assistants and help you to automate and run business processes. So why do we need those agents? Sometimes, Copilot, especially M365 Copilot, is really large. It knows about everything in your company. It knows about the Teams messages, your SharePoint information, all that stuff. So sometimes you want something that's really specific, that's targeted for a single use case. And that's where agents come into play. Now we have 3 ways to extend Microsoft 365 Copilot. One is with Copilot Studio. Of course, there we can make declarative agents as well. We can use a graph connector that already existed. It's basically adding more information that's not in your tenant to your tenant. So let's say, for instance, you have there's a ServiceNow connector. Most companies have ServiceNow. You want that information to be available to Microsoft Copilot. Well, then with a graph connector, you can connect to ServiceNow. That data will then be ingested in your tenant and will be available through the search. And also, if it's available through the search, it's also available for M365 Copilot. And then, of course, the bulk that we'll cover today is the Microsoft Teams and Teams Toolkit and Visual Studio Code. Now, there is one more way. We're not going to cover that today. That's using the Teams AI library. It's more called custom engine agent. Then you have full control over what you're doing. Then you have an agent in Teams. You can use your own large language model. You can do your own prompt engineering. So then you're free to do whatever you want, but that's maybe a high code next level opportunity. It is useful. It has its use cases, of course, but let's not cover that for today. Now, what path are we going to take? Well, once you have a use case to extend M365 Copilot or extend your AI within your company, well, then you have to think about how we're going to do this. For instance, if you want to use Copilots, the built-in Copilot orchestration and models, as you can see here, then we'll start extending M365 Copilot. So if you don't want to use a different model, or you're happy with how Microsoft built it, then this is the way to go. That way we can do declarative agents with instructions, we can add actions, we can add knowledge, and we can do different ingesting of data, or we can call our own APIs, as we'll see later on. And so if you want to use your own orchestrator, let's say for instance, you want to use Llama, or you want to use the new DeepSeek thing, then you can use the Teams AI library. It's called a custom agent. You of course can also build a custom agent with Copilot Studio, because Copilot Studio can also connect to Azure AI Search, for instance. So declarative agents with Copilot Studio. What are the prerequisites? We do need a Copilot license. You don't need a Copilot Studio license or a pay-as-you-go license, so that's a good thing, but you do need a Copilot license. What are the limitations? Well, it's only good for web browsing, graph connectors, SharePoint files, uploaded files. So SharePoint files are not auto-share, and with that I mean, if for instance you connect it to a SharePoint library, but that person has no access to the SharePoint library, then of course they will not get access to those files. So you need to share those files with the people themselves as well, which is of course on the other hand a good thing, that the security constraints are kept in with Copilot Studio, or within the thing you're building with AI. But of course, it's something you have to remember. If you're using Copilot Studio, then you also have to share the files in the end. And of course, it can be used in the Teams chat. We have two ways to build them. We can describe the agent you want, so you can use AI to build AI, or you can configure and build it manually. Let me quickly go over here. There we go. We have Copilot Studio, and as you can see here, you can build your own agents, but that's not an agent for Copilot, and you're not extending Copilot for Microsoft 365. That's when you click on this one. And here, you can then enhance what Microsoft 365 Copilot can do, so you can build a declarative agent, as we see. We can add one, and as you can see here, this is the AI that helps you build AI. So in this case, I can type in whatever I want, and I can start using prompt engineering to help me create my own agent. We could do that, or we could just say I want to skip to config. So let's give it an agent. Let's do ESPC webinar agent. We can of course change the icon. This agent finds information on SharePoint. I do have a SharePoint library here somewhere. Let me see, this is my test site. What do we have here? We have a cybersecurity incident response template, and my ESTA is also there because I went to the US recently. And what's in this? It's just a cybersecurity response. So finds information on SharePoint about cyber security. So in the prompt, of course, the behavior of the agent, you search SharePoint for information about cyber security and response plans. You can add a starter prompt. So a starter prompt is suggested ways of starting conversations. That's always good if you add one of those. So for instance, what's a cyber security response plan? Let's do like this plan, and then of course prompt what is the cyber security response plan. We can add save, and then of course we can add the knowledge here. So if I take my library, there we go, SharePoint site, we add this one, save. We don't want additional web browsing. You could do that of course, but yeah, that's always the case. If you want to add the information on the web, could be really useful, but of course, yeah, it could also be wrong. So in this case, we want to keep it within the company. We do create, it will set up our agent. If it wants to, so it really takes a little bit of time. There we go. Come on, agent. There we go. Okay, come on. I think it's visit time in. There we go. So now we have our agent. We can use our predefined question that we did, and it will get my knowledge from. There we go. Cybersecurity response block. And it can also even find a reference. So let's see if that works. Yes, it goes to my document, of course. And then we can publish that one, and it will show up here in Copilot. So these are the agents on the right-hand side. Now, let's get back to my slides. So next up is declarative agents with the Teams Toolkit. Yeah, there's a little bit more information about what declarative agents are. So we want to layer on top of the full capacity of Microsoft 365 Copilot. It requires focus and specialization. For instance, perfect example is an HR agent. You don't want the agent to find information in the entire, you don't want Copilot to find information in the entire tenant, because maybe somebody placed a document somewhere with an HR policy that's outdated, or that has nothing, or maybe from another company because they have to do something with HR from another company. So you don't want that. You really want this agent to be focused, for instance, only on the SharePoint side of HR with the policies in there. So in that case, that will be a perfect use case to create an HR agent. And for instance, also there, sales, finance would be a good one. And you can also add some custom instructions to that agent. Now, what do we need? We need a developer tenant, of course. These days, it's a little bit hard to get one, but you can still get one. And then I put it in brackets, a Copilot license or pay-as-you-go. It's better if you have a license, but you don't have to do agents lately. It can also work with the web chat version of Copilot. So the free version that you have there, you can also add agents. Of course, we need the Teams Toolkit. And there's a little tip to enable developer mode in Copilot chat. Type developer on. I'll show you in a little bit. That's really handy to create stuff. Now, what is a declarative agent with Teams Toolkit? Well, it's actually just a new version of a Teams app. So we used to create Teams apps. Now, not so anymore. Now we create Copilot agents. So they took that same technology and they updated a manifest. And they added an additional manifest where we can have instructions, conversational starters. We'll get to that in a little while. And they added another manifest. So yeah, now you have 3 manifests, so a little bit more of JSON. That's the cool thing about it's a cool thing about declarative agents, and it's also sometimes not cool. It's declarative, meaning the only thing you need to do or be able to do is edit JSON. So I think everybody, you don't need to be a developer to do this. I think everybody can just edit JSON files and make sure that you follow the correct schema. There's examples everywhere. So it's not really development anymore. Our downside of that is, you cannot debug JSON. So if the thing is not doing what you want it to do, it can sometimes get real tricky to figure out why it's doing stuff. So we give it instructions and your system prompt. Those are some good tips. So if you want to build a good agent or something else with AI, make sure that your system prompt is specific. It gives context. The normal one, you are an AI assistant. Yeah. The latest models, GPT-4o, it was created after the hype with GPT 3.5 2 years ago now already, I think. So they've been trained on data on the internet that already explained what ChatGPT did. So it knows it's an agent. You don't have to tell it anymore that it's an AI assistant. It will know that. So yeah, don't do that anymore. Just say, okay, be very specific, give some context, give the desired format, some tone and style, and if possible, we call it few-shot learning, include examples. The more you put in the system prompt, the better. Not always the more, but yeah, make sure you really grasp what the use case is that you want to do. We have some conversational starters, so we can guide users so they know what an agent is all about. This is really helpful because, yeah, if you just deploy an agent and it's blank, I think I maybe have one of these. Let's see if I can show you one that has nothing in it. There we go. See if you take this one, for instance. This is my bookings agent. It has no conversation starter. So if I deploy this to my company, nobody will know what it's about. Yeah, bookings probably, but not what kind of bookings. Is it a seat booking, or is it an airplane booking, or a flight booking system, or I don't know what kind of booking. So make sure that you include some conversational starters. That will always help and guide the user. What's it about? And give some sample prompts. So in this case, what's about cybersecurity? What's an RT? What categories are there? What's PII? Stuff like that.
Rick, there's a question in, if that's okay.
Yes. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So hello, when creating an agent that is, or created, create actions that have a dynamic input that is obtained from the data provided in the prompt, how can the response of the action be included as an input for another action? The question is, how can we use a response of an action to either store it in a variable or be used as input for another action? Has to be done by code. Thanks for your guidance.
No, you don't have to do that with code. It's called prompt chaining. So you can, in your system prompt, or in your, let me go one back, in your instructions, you can say, okay, if you get data from, for instance, let's get first data from one API and then send it to another, then you can include that in your system prompt. It's called prompt chaining. So you can say, okay, if the user asks this and this, then first do that, and then take that context or that value and put it in the next one. There is no code, the declarative agent, so there is no code, so there's no way to use variables, but it does have a little bit of memory to keep into memory. It's in the history of the chat, of course, but it has a little bit of, it can take that value then and then do it for the next one. If that answers your question, I hope so.
Perfect.
So conversation starters, web search will go into the one a little bit later. Let's just get started with our first declarative agent. So what do we need for our declarative agent? Of course, Visual Studio Code. Once you have Visual Studio Code, you install the Teams Toolkit, which is just an extension. So you just search here for extensions, Teams Toolkit. There we go. I already have that one, of course. And then you get this one. Let's give it some time to get started. There is some information. So build declarative agent is also a declarative agent, and it will also check for your Copilot license if you want to check that one. So we start with creating a new app. These are all the old ones. So Office add-ins and message extents, all Teams stuff. A custom agent is what we discussed. That's with the Teams AI library, but today we'll keep with the declarative agent. Then we choose action or no action. So add an action is that when the declarative agent can call an API. We'll do that later on, but now we'll just say no action. And we want to do it, yeah, default folder, and let's call this one ESPC webinar agents, I don't know whatsoever, agent 77. There we go. This will start up. You don't need this one anymore. We'll get a new Visual Studio one. Now, as you can see, what's in here? A YAML file, that's to deploy everything. Don't have to look at that, that's what Microsoft provides. So a README file, which is, there we go, which is a little bit more information on what declarative agents are. Of course, git ignore file if you want to check it in, but an environment file, there's also nothing, you don't have to look at that one. And all the main stuff is in the app package. So it used to be, because it's a Teams app, it used to be that a Teams app had more than normally to get started, you just needed 3 things, which was an outline image, a color image, and a manifest. And that manifest is the original one, is the one we need to create a Teams app. As you can see here, what's in there: Teams ID, a developer, some privacy URLs, stuff you have to fill in, description, stuff like that, your colors. And of course, like I said, there are now 2 more JSON files added. In this case, because we don't use an API, just 1 more agent file. In this one, for instance, that's the declarative agent JSON file. Put this a little bit wider for you guys so you can see it. I hope that everyone can see my screen. So what's in there? The reference of the JSON, so what has to be in there, so it can be checked, what version, name of the agent, a description for your agent, and some instructions. This instructions is your prompt. So you can write it all here, but Microsoft was smart and they said, okay, let's just add a TXT file, and here you can add everything in your prompt. So in this case, it's declarative agent to the Teams Toolkit, start and response. So with the Teams Toolkit, let's just do it like this. For a webinar, there we go. And we don't want to start with you answer in a I don't know, a rap style, dark, humored way, and that's it. And always end the conversation with, I don't know, yo dude, something like that. So we have a server document. So, and that's about it. So this is our first declarative agent. Now, if you want to get that deployed, we go to the Teams Toolkit again. As you can see with the Teams Toolkit, I'm logged in. And of course, custom apps have to be enabled so that you can enable that you can upload custom apps. It's a setting in the Teams admin center. It's one setting you turn on. Don't do it on production because then everybody can just start uploading custom apps. You don't want that on your production tenant, do it on your developer tenant. And of course, I have Copilot access enabled. Then we click on provision. As you can see here, let's check out the output a little bit so you know what's going on. It will start creating the Teams app package. There we go, with all those parameters that you saw here, with the YAML file and with the environment files, and it will get an ID and all that stuff, but you don't need to know that. This will just be ready. There we go, provisioning complete, and our next step is publish to the organization. Deploy, you don't need that now. That's after, when you really go to production, then you can click deploy and then there will be a package created. But for the main part, if we're developing, you just need to click provision and publishing. I'm not sure. I think normally publish isn't the first time you have to click provision, and then the next time publish is enough. But yeah, I'm neurotic in that way. I always click provision and publish. So if you see me do that the entire time of the webinar, then that's because I'm just neurotic in that way. Let's go then. Where is my browser? We should have our ESPC agent. Let me refresh my Copilot. And there we go. We have our ESPC webinar agent. If it's alive, so it's feeling fly, and I'll help you today, yo dude. As you can see here, I already have the agent debug mode, which is really handy. So that's developer on normally. There we go. So you get the development mode on. There we go, and then you can, once you activate it, it's always on. So that's the cool thing about this one. This will really, we used to didn't have that in the beginning, that that agents were available. Now we have that because yeah, then you at least see what's going on. What capabilities were enabled, no plugins. So I have an agent now, but it doesn't do anything. As you can see here, you can see the raw info or some documentation. So let's add our first, this one. Let's add our first instruction to our agent. So what can we do? For instance, we can, where is my sample? For instance, we can add some capabilities. Let's first get started with my conversation starter. So we do need a conversation starter. So let's add this one. Comma here. There we go. And in this case, well, it's just a simple getting started. And let's add some capabilities. Capabilities is also just JSON. So in this case, it's this one, capabilities. We also need a comma, I guess. And then my Copilot, my Copilot in my GitHub Copilot is acting up, of course, because it wants to. Which one am I missing? This one. There you go. Now it's going to be able to do a web search. So let's deploy this one again for vision. And then deploy while it's provisioning. Well, that's quite fast usually. And then publish. I'll go back to the slides. So the web search, we can include, I just confirm, there go my slides. Try that again. So include content from web in your agent. By default, it's the entire web. As you can see, my JSON, or I'll show it again in a little bit. I scoped it to a single website. By default, it's the entire web, but yeah, that's, yeah, okay. Then you have an agent that can serve your web, then people can just use the default Copilot. But you can scope it to maximum 4 websites, and there are also maximum 2 path segments. So site.com, segment 1, segment 2, that can't go any deeper than that. This is just based on Bing indexing, of course. Now, this is for the next one. Where's my Visual Studio? It should be done now. Yep, there we go. We published. Let's go to my agent again. Let's take this one. See, here are my conversational starters already. So how can I help? And I'll get started with Declarative Agent. We don't need this. This is just for demo purposes, of course, but now it will search, I don't know, who works for Attendees. See if I can, that's my company I work for. So just to the website. There we go. And as you can see, now it has information because I get references back. So it's going to the website. See, there we go. And that was me. So now we got information on the website. What else can we do? Well, the next one we can do is SharePoint and OneDrive content. Let me go back to my agent. So let's delete the web search and let's get started with OneDrive and SharePoint content. There we go. I already prepped this one. So it's going to the same site, shared documents, my cybersecurity that we used in the beginning of the webinar. You can go to a single document. You can also go to a document library. In this case, we just go to a single document just to see if it works. Excuse me. So let's get that deployed. And this one. You can also combine all of those things, all those actions you can give it. Of course, you can add search the web and OneDrive and SharePoint, and there's more to come. Publish it, yes. Where's my Copilot? Refresh real quickly. See if it deployed. Yes, publishing complete. So if I go to my agent 77, then we can say what is a cyber response? So first we go preparation, notification, eradication, post-incident. There we go. So it found that information. I hope so. See on my OneDrive and SharePoint. So it's successful. This is really helpful, the debug one. So this is even the search query that it did. It found one result. So, and this was another search query. So it first searched, okay, where do I have to find it? Okay, on this document, and then in this document find the information. So that's now SharePoint. And of course, because it's in a dark graph humor style with cybersecurity, it's a little bit weird of a reaction, but it's cool that it uses emoticons to enhance the message. So next one up, we got, for instance, Teams messages, which is also a cool one. So then this one, the Teams messages. So you can do a, let me take my slides real quick. So SharePoint, SharePoint that we just did, site, library, folder, file, and also OneDrive. I forgot to mention that one. Teams messages. So we can point it to Teams, to channels, to chats, and to meetings. So if it's a team or a channel, just say, let me quickly show this one. You just say, so in this case, it's a Teams message URL. You can just say, okay, if it's a channel or a chat, a channel or a team or a meeting, you can just do get link. So you just do get link to team or get link to or the join meeting URL. If it's a chat, a one-on-one chat, then it's a little bit harder. The trick actually is, where's my Teams? So I have my Teams here. I just set something to Davey. So I'm using my chat with Davey. And then if I take a link of one message, there we go. And I put that in, let me see if I can get the notepad thingy going. There we go. The trick is, it goes to that message. You see that here, message, and you open it a little bit harder. the trick is you just need to change this manually into chat. If you change this manually into chat, then it's using the entire chat base of that with the one-on-one chat, or you can also do a group chat, but the one-on-one chat with that person. Now this is going to be a little bit tricky because this is a live Teams environment, so I have no idea what I discussed with David really recently, but let's see what it was.
There's questions in, Rick, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure, because it's deploying anyway, so.
Perfect. So the first one is there some reference material we can look up to create agents using JSON or via VS?
Yeah, sure. There's lots of information available. If you install the Teams Toolkit, for instance, there we go. The documentation is here. And of course, if you do your first declarative agent in the README file, there's also lots of information. So here's also how to create a declarative agent, how to add an API plugin, how to do conversation starters. I think there's even a learn path that you can take.
Perfect. And the other question is, are there limitations to the depth in a document library in SharePoint and OneDrive, like there is on websites?
Yes, there are. So the limitations are going to be the same that Copilot, the normal Copilot has, which is, if I'm not mistaken, from the top of my head, 20,000 words or something, around 20,000 words that it can, and from the beginning of the document that it knows about. I think was it Copilot in Word is like 80,000 words or something, and then if you do Microsoft 365 Copilot, it's 20,000 words or something like that. So it's the same limitation. Because it uses Copilot, of course, it's just more, it's the Copilot infrastructure. It just uses, you just give it more focus.
Perfect. That's all the questions so far. Okay,
thank you. There we go. So we have our agent now. So what did I discuss with David? And let's hope this is not too bad because we do a lot of bandwidth together. So quite a chat, technical stuff. There you go. Logging in and earning an hour of work. There we go. So, and it finds it in the chat. Plus you shared the story about the duck named Quack. So that was fun. Okay, next one up. Next one up is going to be graphics. So we can also add DALL-E capabilities with our custom agents. So in this case, I think we can just do it here. Remove the color. We just say, you see, it's always capability. So you have graphic art, you have the Teams messages, you have SharePoint, and there's more to come. Let me save this one, provision, and then publish. Go back to this one. So, the next one. So in this case, you can just enable DALL-E on your agent. So if you need that one, I'm not sure what the use case is going to be for this one, but I think Microsoft had it laying around, so they just activated that one. Because I think it's easy if you go to what's called Microsoft Designer, I guess, that designs your images, or the way you can prompt for images as well. There we go. Should be deployed by now. Yes. So agent 77, create me an image of a cat in a tree. Oh wait, an image of a kid drops an egg on a concrete floor. This is usually always a good one. There we go, and we'll be generating this one. See, it just uses Desire. And this is always a good one because AI doesn't know that if you drop an egg on a concrete floor that it breaks. That's always a good one to see. So the egg, it knows that it's a broken egg, but it doesn't know that, AI doesn't know what a reaction is that there is if there's an action that a reaction occurs. So that's always a good one. So see this one as well. Yeah, it's not a broken egg, but but it still gets it sort of, but not yet. So that's a good thing to see how that goes. Now, next up we have people. So we can also do people that it knows about people in our organization. There we go. Let's save that one. Provision and publish again. Come on, there we go. Publishing, publishing. Yes, I want to do that. So we have graphics, oh, people. There we go. So my agent, as you can see, the deployment goes, it knows pretty fast. So let's put it with Davy. There we go. This cat reports to eFlux. So yeah, my server agent is really acting up. So as you can see, people, it knows it, of course, because if you look in the debug mode, it was successfully exiting people. So it searched the graph for users and people in your organization, which is quite cool. Next up, we have code interpreter. There we go. This one can, this is actually a pretty cool one. So this one can take your prompt, and from that prompt, it generates Python code, and then it executes that Python code. So I do need a, yes, this one. I do need a prompt that I prepare, because yeah, you need to have something that, of course, creates Python code, or that is good enough to create Python code, because yeah, if I ask it who is Davy, it's not going to create Python code to mimic Davy. There we go. Should be okay. So we have our code interpreter, so it can write and run code for you. And that should be okay. There we go. And then here I have graph the first 20 numbers in a Fibonacci sequence, which is, of course, not that simple, because it has to calculate that one and then graph it in a, put it in a graph. So it will generate, see, so it's generating this graph with Python code. I don't see the Python code either. This is the Python code that was generated. So the Fibonacci sequence generate the numbers. It's even adding comments and then plot it on the graph chart. So this is, I think it's quite, this can be quite useful in an organization, especially for like the finance department and stuff like that, if they need financial information and then automatically generate it in a graph or something like that. So as you can see here, it does have compute power to run code, just not the code you write. Now, next up, and we're gonna now dive in real hard. So that was all pretty simple and pretty basic. Now you just add some capabilities, not that much of, yeah, it does have some added value, of course, yeah, for an HR bot, for instance, but this one is a real added value. You can add any API you want. So you just need an open API description document. It is not easy to debug, because calling APIs is already becoming deavy, if I can say it like that. So it's not easy to debug. But we still declare the data that we will send over. So we'll add a function. Oh, and then if we want, we can have that data returned in an adaptive card, and we even can change confirmation, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So I'm gonna start. Let's start a new one, because I don't want to. Maybe easier if we start a new fresh app agent. We're gonna add an action, and we're gonna start, either you start with a new API, so you can create your own API, or we can do an open API description document. So just for the safe side, I have on localhost, I just have a simple API running. So this is my to-do API, and this is, so try it out. This is just getting some items back with to-do items. Put it a little bit here so you can see it. Now this is running localhost. As you all know, Copilot is not going to access localhost files, because it has no idea where it's running. So I just use my tunneling tool called ngrok, and I also have this running online, because it's a tunneling tool. So in this case, this is the same to-do, as you can see here, to-do API, same one, but it's going through a tunnel to my local machine. Now, this to-do API, of course, yeah, it's just an API, so I have no idea how do I declare it. So I wanted to show you guys real quickly how you do that. So if it contains Swagger, which is something they add to APIs to make it easier for, in this case, to test and to follow as a standard. In this case, you can get the JSON. So in this case, I have the JSON. So you can save this one, but that's not enough. So if you go to Swagger API tool, where is he? Otherwise, I have to Google this one, editor, I guess. Is it this one? Yeah. So this is Swagger editor. Here you see it's item description. So this is the description of the API. This is in YAML. We don't need that. We don't need that one. So we take all this JSON, we copy paste it into this one. There we go. Would you like to convert it to the YAML? Yes, why not? And there we go. This is my to-do API. Now, if I save this as a JSON, it's not going to work. Why? Because you see, it has no idea what to call. So we'll need to insert our server. Let's add a server. This is my URL. There we go. And add a server. And now we can test it here. As you can see here, test it out, execute. And there we go. We get stuff back. Do we get stuff back? There's no course. Okay. It must be HTTPS. Yeah, okay, doesn't matter. So if we then convert and save this file as a JSON file, then it's saved. There we go, open API 4. Then we go back to our Teams Toolkit and we say start from an open API description document. I'll browse, I'll get downloads, it wasn't before. And then as you can see, in the description document says, okay, there's an API, it's called the to-do items. You can delete the to-do item, you can get items, you could post, you can put. So let's just keep it simple. Let's just do the get to-do items. We'll just mark this one. I just need this one, and then okay. Where do you want to do the app here? And then I call it my to-do, call it something like that. And we get, let's put our agent 77 a little bit to the left. There we go. So as you can see here, same tools package, same Teams package, manifest, declarative agent, but we get another JSON file, which is the AI plugin. So as you can see here in our agents, declarative agent.json, what a name. There we don't need the README. It says, yeah, there's an action, and this action called action 1, and that's going to do AI plugin.json. So it references this file. That's just to keep it simple. Otherwise, this JSON file would get huge. So that's why you have different files. In this AI plugin, it's going to say, okay, this is my name for human, my to-do call. You can even do name for, normally it's name for model or something, or name for, yeah, I have to look it up. But in any way, you can say, okay, this is a name for what Copilot will call it. So a description. You'll also have to be good with these descriptions, because the Copilot will recognize this description and will say, okay, now I know what to do. Because yeah, it's all declarative, so all in text, so you have to use this prompting as well. There we go. To manage those to-do items. Perfect. My to-do, it has a function, get to-do items. So it runs this function, get to-do items. And which one does it do? In this API specification file. So that was the one that we imported. That we imported a little piece of it. So it took a little part of that big file we generated, and it just says, okay, this is the username we need, the page size, success, what does it do, what does it do. Cool. So now normally if we then provision I messed something up. Manifest description member. I forgot to add a description. Declarative agent.json. It's this one. This one called to do API. Is this one? Yeah. From this custom description, member is required in function. Here, I forgot my description, of course. This agent will, function. This will return all my to-do items. Perfect. Thank God for autocomplete. And maybe if we really want to make it real good, we'll do a conversation starter. Do I have something? Yes, there we go. Conversation starter, already prepped one. So get the all to do items. Now we can provision. See, that's what I mentioned with, okay, this was a simple question, simple error, because it's just in the JSON file. So that's for debugging the JSON files. Yeah, it's just text. But yeah, if something goes wrong, why Copilot isn't calling you, then it can get sometimes really tricky. Are we publishing? Yes, we're publishing. There we go. Where's my Copilot? Here we go. Let me refresh this one. And there's my to-do caller. Get me all to-do items, my conversation starter. And did it find something? I didn't select something. So it got my API, but it didn't select anything. Did I take the correct one? That could also be a problem, of course. Which one did I get? Did I get all to-dos? No worries, I already prepped one, which is this one. It's exactly the same. It could be that the problem is that I didn't select get all to-dos, but get one to-do. So then if you deploy this one, then it was, what was the name of this one? That's the problem with all those agents. You need namings, lots and lots of namings. This is agent 2, I'm guessing. There we go, get me all to-do items. That should work. There we go, getting all the tasks. And as you can see here, so we got all the tasks, function get all to-do items, 200 back, response data, so we got all these items back. And what else did you see here? So it did get all the tasks, and it even added an adaptive card. So that's the next thing you can do with it, which is also pretty cool, is you can say, I want a template. So if the data comes back, so get to-dos, and then I want, if the response comes back, then put that information into an adaptive card. So in this case, I have a text block for the ID, the name, and the assigned user, which will become here name, ID, assigned user. So you can make it really cool. And you know, everybody knows that adaptive cards, yeah, they have lots of power. You can add buttons, you can add links to stuff. So really cool images. So it makes it really cool. So you can add more and more information to your API. And then of course, if we do chaining, we can just say in the prompt, okay, get all the tasks. And then if, after you got all the tasks, ask the user, do you want to delete the task that was selected? And if the user says yes, then take the last task you got back. For instance, take the task that was in the adaptive card. So you can do that with prompt chaining, because then it will know, okay, if I look at the history, this was the task I gave back. So it will call the to-do API and will delete the task. So let's go back to the slides. Go. So where were we? Yeah, so the declared data you will send over, and data can be returned in an adaptive card. So we can add adaptive cards. You didn't see that one. So normally when you do an API call, the first time the user must give permission, because data is leaving the environment. So be careful with this one. Copilot, everybody knows, Microsoft gives that guarantee. It is secure, it is safe, it's on your data. Data is not leaving the environment. If you build something like this, the API that I was calling is leaving the environment. So there is a notification which we can then customize. But yeah, you can turn it off or customize it, but be careful. If the user has in that prompt, for instance, sensitive information from your company, then make sure that the API that you call is also owned by the company, or at least you know what you're doing, or it's a safe API to call. so that you don't export secret information from your company to, I don't know, some public API. So be careful with that one. So to conclude, let's conclude with declarative agents. It's quick to market. You saw it. You have an agent running within half an hour. You have a use case built for your company. It's sometimes less is more. Okay, it's not fancy, super fancy code, and you cannot debug that much, and you don't control the AI part of it, and you don't have your own models, and you cannot update the prompts that people put in before that you did codes in the model and all those AI use cases. But yeah, sometimes less is more. If you just need an HR agent, for instance, that just points to a SharePoint library, perfect. Sometimes less is more, not because it's AI that always has to be complex. And it's of course very easy for end users to find. If you're building your own AI that's living in some website somewhere, then you have to link it again. People have to find that website. This one is just within Copilot. People can click on the right-hand side, find their agent, and good to go. Now, if you want a true agent, because yeah, that's a discussion, of course, that we that's going on in the AI community. What is an agent? Is this a true agent? Not really. If you look up the definition for an agent, then an agent is actually AI that does things for you. That's actually, okay, I don't know, let's take an HR agent. And true agent is not some AI that says, okay, what is the policy on maternity leave at the company, and gives you back the reference of a document and then the little piece of text that's in that document. A true AI agent will, of course, what's the maternity leave policy for a company? A true AI agent will go look up that information for you, will already request maternity leave for you, will already block your calendar because you're on maternity leave, all that stuff. It will do way more than just give you back some information. It will actually do stuff for you. And of course, so if you want a true agent, then go to the Teams AI library. That has way more capabilities there. You can use, for instance, semantic kernel, which can actually orchestrate multiple agents together. And if it's hard to debug if things go wrong. You saw that for the one I had, of course, with the calling the API. Yeah, it didn't call the API, but why? So it's hard to see why. What's not like you can do F5 and then next step into the code. So any other questions? Sean.
Yeah, so thank you, Rick, for a great presentation demo. So getting to another question is, let's check now. When should an organization choose Copilot Studio over Teams Toolkit and vice versa for building agents?
That really depends on not the use case, but more on the knowledge that's available at the company. So if you have, for instance, it's not really you don't need to be a developer to do some JSON stuff, but it really depends on what you want to use. That's it's just where's the knowledge. If you have people knowledge in the Power Platform, then go ahead and use Copilot Studio. If you're already using Copilot Studio, if for instance, if you're not using anything in the Power Platform as a company, then you don't have an environment strategy, you don't have governance around the Power Platform, then to set all that up just to start with agents in Copilot Studio, that's maybe a little bit of overkill. Then it's way easier to start with Teams Toolkit, add some information, create a declarative agent there, deploy that to your organization, and you're good to go. You don't need to do lots of governance around that one. That's usually Teams governance. I think everybody who has Teams already has governance in place for Teams. So in that case, I would start with the declarative agent in Visual Studio Code. If you already have like 10 people developing on the Power Platform and doing other agents in Copilot Studio, then maybe that way is the best way.
Perfect. Just next question there is, what Microsoft 365 security tools, example, DLP, purview, conditional access, should be considered when deploying agents?
The main security thing that you have to do before you even start with Copilot is make sure that there's no oversharing within your company. If you have every site or every team set to public, where everyone except external users has access to that team, then Microsoft Copilot can already access it. So that's the first thing you have to check if you're starting with even just Copilot and just AI in general, because I always compare it with Copilot. That's your colleague, but yeah, it has all the time in the world. It has 100 years time to take everything, to look at every document that's everywhere in the company that you can access, of course. So, and for the main part, all those, because we're now building on Microsoft 365 Copilot, we get all the DLP policies and all everything and all the purview stuff and labeling and all those cool things. Those are built into M365 Copilot. So the agents also take advantage of that, which is pretty cool in my way, the way I think about it, because yeah, you don't have to think about all that one. I'm doing projects where, okay, we're using AI, custom AI search and all that stuff. Yeah, there's no security trimming if it's in, yeah, there is security trimming, but it's really hard to implement. But yeah, if you're doing that, then you have to think about security and DLP and all that stuff. Yeah, if you're doing it like it, yeah, if you're doing your own AI, in this case, it's all included. So.
Perfect. I think that's all the questions. So on behalf of the ESBC community, we'd like to extend a big thank you to you again, Rick, for taking time out today to carry this webinar. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, if anybody has any more questions, my email is in the screen. That's my, oh, so it's still Twitter. I still have to change that one. That was a long time ago. My GitHub account, you can just send me an email or contact me on GitHub or one of the social media channels that everybody has. So thank you.
Perfect. So that's the end of today's webinar. You can find this webinar and more at sharepointeurope.com/resource center. Thanks again for all of you for joining us today, and I hope you join us again soon. Take care.